Okay, good morning, students, and welcome to the new year. So today's presentation is on ELD1501, Early Learning and Development Areas. I am your lecturer, Mrs. A. Carrim, and you can email me on ecareer1@unisa.ac.za for any further support. So today is just about going through the tutorial letter, which is tutorial letter 101. You are basically in the diploma in ECCE in early learning and development areas is your module, which is ELD 1501 in the Department of Early Childhood Education and Development. So the purpose of this module is basically to provide the foundation for, and it also serves as an introduction for the modules that you will come across, early communication, language and literacy, early mathematics, creativity in the early years, identity and belonging, knowledge and understanding of the world, and well-being. So this module will enable you, to gain an overview of the subject-specific knowledge of early learning development areas, which will support, the effective practice that you need to, give towards being an ECD educator. So furthermore, as a qualifying student, you will gain specialized pedagogical knowledge of theories, concepts, and principles of the different early learning development areas for young children. So as a UNISA graduate, you need to have distinctive graduate qualities. So remember, when you're studying, going through this module, you need to make sure that you develop, that independence, be resilient, responsible, be a caring citizen. You need to be able to fulfill and serve in multiple roles in your immediate and future local, national, and global community. So always become that thinking teacher, have a critical understanding of the location you're teaching in the African continent, and taking account of its histories, the challenges and potential in relation to globally diverse contexts. You also need to have the ability to really critically analyze and evaluate the credibility and the usefulness of information that you receive, as well as the data, from multiple sources in a globalized world with ever increasing information and data that flows, and you obviously have so many competing worldviews. So you need to apply your discipline specific knowledge, competently, ethically, and creatively to solve real life problems. And you need to show an awareness of your own learning and developmental needs and future potential as an ECD educator. So the study material required to get started is basically your TUT 101 as well as your ELD 1501 study guide. You will notice that I've divided it into 4 documents. And this is also for you to focus on one learning unit at a time. So you'll see learning unit 1 to 4 within your module site. If you haven't found it already, it's basically on the side, and you will just basically download it under the correct learning unit. So we're looking at the assessment criteria. It's very important that you understand that there is no final examination and no supplementary examination for this module, because it's a continuous assessment module. So there are several, formative assessments throughout the year to assess your ongoing progress. So, especially with respect to the attainment of the outcomes that we'll get into in the next presentations. So if assessments are mandatory, it means that the mark contributes to your year mark. So students who basically achieve less than 50% in an assessment will have second opportunity to achieve the learning outcomes for that specific assessment. So you'll basically have an elective for every assessment. But just remember to work hard for your first assessment, so you don't get overloaded with a lot of assessments to complete. Because, if you work hard in your first assessment, you don't have to take the elective, which is just to basically help you pass, or, in that sense. So if you fail to submit a mandatory assignment, no mark is awarded, and the year mark is calculated accordingly. You therefore forfeit, the marks attached to that assignment when the final mark for the module is calculated. So, for instance, if you haven't done that specific assessment. that contributes to the percentage that we'll talk about in the next slides. So the assessment basically encourage critical awareness and reflection by you as students, and it obviously implies that you must take responsibility for your own learning and monitor your own progress. So assessments are seen as part of the learning material for this module. And as you do the assessments, read the study guide, consult other resources, discuss the work with your fellow students, or do some more research, especially with the discussion forums that will be open within the module site. So you need to engage actively in the learning process. You also will receive assessment information via the My Module sites. So please watch out for announcements and assessments for the module for which you are registered for. And yeah, so there's already an update on announcements, just to give you a brief overview of the assessment plan for this module. So in some cases, additional assessments will be available on My UNISA site, which is called electives. But you need to work consistently. There will be no opportunity to submit assessments after the due date and time. There will be, basically no extensions at all. You will have to take the elective if you want to boost your mark, or if you probably missed that specific assessment. So it needs to be things that you note down very diligently in a diary so that you don't miss important dates. Okay, so when we look at the assessment plan, to complete this module, you will be required to submit 3 assessments, which is mandatory, formative assessments and 1 summative assessment. You must submit all 4 formative and summative assessments. The formative assessments will count 75%, and the summative assessment will count 25% towards your final module mark. So students who basically, like I said, if you achieve less than 50%, you can retake the assessment by using the elective, which is the second opportunity. But just remember, it will have a different set of questions. So if you have passed the assessment and there's no need to take the elective, you don't need to, because you're going to go through completing basically completing a different assessment for that same percentage. So assessment 7 is a test, which means that all students need to take the test on the same day at the same time. So you can consider it a little bit like it's not an exam, but it's a test that basically is considered a summative assessment for this continuous module. So you have 4 hours to complete the test. The date will be communicated in advance. And students who have taken the test and achieved less than 50% in the test will have an opportunity to retake the test, with basically a different set of questions. The same applies to the test. So there is no examination, no supplementary for this module. Basically all information about when and where to submit your assessments is available on the My Module site. Especially the ones that are not electives are already visible for you to see the opening date and the due date. So due dates for assessments as well as actual assessments are available on the module site for this module. Your assessments will comprise of a combination of multiple choice questions and written assessments. And remember, this is a continuous assessment, and I again repeat, no examination. Therefore, you need to complete all your assessments. So let's take time to understand the assessment plan. So you have assessment 1, which is a quiz with all learning units, which count 15%. Obviously, if you do not pass that assessment, you can do the retake, the elective, which will be basically the same kind of assessment, but with different questions. And then you have assessment 3, which is your written assessment. Learning units 1 and 2 will be tested, which accounts 30% of your overall mark. And remember that if you don't pass this assessment, you can take assessment 4, which will be also testing you on learning unit 1 and 2, but on completely different questions. So I would suggest that you work hard to complete assessment 3, and the same applies to assessment 5, which is your main assessment, which is testing you on learning units 3 and 4. That will count 30%. Only if you don't make the get the 50%, or you're not, you don't basically perform well, you can probably take the elective, which is assessment 6, and that will also test you on the same learning units, learning unit 3 and 4. Assessment 7 is your test, your summative component, and this will also be this will basically be counting 25% of your overall mark. And remember, if you don't make this test, you can do the retake, the elective, which will count towards, basically replace that mark. And that will be also 25% percentage. So just remember to understand that these are the main assessments. And if you work hard in it, it would be the only ones that you need to complete. It's only where you come down in your assessment. And I don't mean that, I'm not too sure in terms of missing the assessment. I would advise you not to miss it at all, because it's very important that you stick to your due dates and, opening dates and due dates, because you won't have that second opportunity in case you don't make it, because the elective would be the final opportunity to basically pass that particular assessment. So remember to please complete your assessments in this order and make sure that you, work hard towards achieving a pass for this module. So let's take time to understand this assessment plan. When we talk about optional, this is not optional at all. It's mandatory, which means that the assessments contribute to your year mark. And if you fail to submit a mandatory assignment, no mark is awarded, and the year mark is calculated accordingly. And you basically forfeit the marks attached to that assessment when the final mark for the module is calculated. So it's very important to understand this. This module has no examination. So understanding that formative assessments are mandatory are very important, because you also given opportunity to do the test, which is also very important for you to understand that there is that second opportunity to pass that particular assessment. But if you don't basically take the first opportunity, you won't have the second you won't have two opportunities basically. So remember that the elective assessments are basically a choice of which you basically your best result will be accepted, and it's grouped into it's basically grouped into an elective group, and once if you achieve over 50 in the second in the elective and you fail the first one, then it would take the second one. So that kind of opportunity you do have. But like I said, take the first opportunity so that you passed, or if you really need to take the next opportunity, at least it's there for you. How do I submit my assignment? So UNISA, as a comprehensive open distance e-learning institution, is moving towards, we already an online institution. You will find that your study material, your assessments, your engagements with your lecturer, your fellow students all take place online. So it's very important that you have the necessary data or tools, whether it be a computer. I'm not too sure what type of access you have on a phone, but it's very important for you to have a laptop as well, or computer for that matter. So my UNISA is a virtual campus, so you basically have this module site where you find all your assessments. It's an online system that actually gives you the opportunity to also participate in discussion forums, like I mentioned earlier, and you're able to access announcements. It's very important that you actually look at announcements, whether it be weekly, or daily. It just depends how often you need to be updated, especially when it comes to submitting assessments. There'll be reminders sometimes. So when you access your My Module site, you will see a welcome message, posted by me, your lecturer, and below you will see your assessment shells, as well as probably on the side. And that's where you will access, your opening date, your due dates, and there'll also be under different learning units, you'll find discussion forums and things that you need to participate in. Just because something doesn't count for marks, it doesn't mean that you need to ignore it. It's a learning experience that will help you, complete assessments. It will also help you, gain the knowledge required to apply yourself in the workplace. So don't miss out on opportunities that are given to you as a registered student at UNISA. So complete the quiz assessment. To complete your quiz assessment, you're going to click on the relevant assessment shell. You're going to have to do it, while you reading the questions. It's like basically it needs to be completed online. And then the quiz assessment is also, for every, it's basically testing you in all learning units. So make sure that you have read through the study guide before you, take on that quiz. It's not advisable to use a cell phone to complete quizzes, and you should please use a desktop computer, a tablet, or laptop for this task. Students who use cell phones find it difficult to navigate the online assessment tool on the small screen. And we find that they struggle to navigate between questions and successfully complete the quizzes at the end of the day. So in addition to cell phones, cell phones are more vulnerable to be dropped, in terms of internet connections. And if at all possible, please do not use a cell phone for this assessment type. For written assessments, please note that the due date by which your work must be submitted, and ensure that you follow the guidelines given by your lecturer to complete the assessments by clicking the submission button, on the relevant assessment shell. You will then be able to upload your written assessment on the module site that you registered for. And before you finalize the upload, double check that you have selected the correct file for uploading. Remember, no marks can be allocated for incorrect submitted assessments, and that happens quite often, when it comes to submission of assessments. For the proctoring invigilation, remember that UNISA is conducting all assessments online, and given the requirements, and to ensure assessment integrity, it's important that you understand that Turnitin is switched on, which means that it can check for originality of your submissions against internal and external sources. And this means that you can be, we can quickly identify if academic fraud has happened, or ghostwriting, or, if you've plagiarized. So you're expected to submit type assessments when using the Turnitin software. So please be reminded about that. Reminder is to check announcements. I have noted that. Participate in discussion forums, and also understand that what academic dishonesty is. So remember, plagiarism is an act of taking the words, ideas, and thoughts of others and presenting them as your own. So avoid copying and pasting from sources, especially these AI tools like ChatGPT and things like that, not including references when needed, and as well as paraphrasing without acknowledging. And, you need to acknowledge the source of information even when paraphrasing. When it comes to cheating, we look at if someone completes the assessment on behalf of you, that is cheating using social media, things like WhatsApp, Telegram. We have a lot of things that come to our department, submitting corrupt or irrelevant files. That's also, and buying completed answers from so-called tutors or internet sites. There's a lot of adverts going on, but just remember, most of the time it's a scam. And even if it does happen, you will get caught in that sense. So problems or submissions, please know email submissions can be accepted. Incorrect assignments, in terms of, when you name your document incorrectly, you can upload something that is irrelevant, and you won't have any marks allocated because of that. When it comes to corrupt files, yes, we can't. We tend to try, but most of the time it's not. We're not able to read it for marking. And again, plagiarism. Do not wait until the last day and hour to upload assignments. We've seen a lot of students, get affected by technical difficulties that can affect your successful submission. When it comes to module expectations, remember, we do expect that you position yourself as a thinking teacher. As early years teacher, you need to address the challenges that our young children face in early learning and development. The knowledge we expose you, comes from many sources, including some rich countries, but also Africa, South Africa. So you need to build your perspective to inform your thinking, your action, your reflection. So think critically and creatively, work with a purpose, ask a lot of questions, see things from a different perspective, use cycles of reflection to improve practice, solve problems using the best solutions, commit yourself to improvement, and act in the best interest of our young children and their families as well. This is a study plan, just, noting that you need to, read through Learning Unit 1, each learning unit for that matter, participate in discussion forums, prepare for assessments, and, at the end of the day, you need to submit all assessments before the due date and time. The elective are basically only for students that have not made the assessment or have, who still needs a mark for that particular assessment combination. So remember, you need to submit before the due date and time, and also revise all 4 learning units before making, doing the test as well, which is your final submission for the summative assessment. Yeah, so just remember to take responsibility for your own learning, engage with the content, reflect on the knowledge, critically engage, analyze, and make meaning of it. You need to be independent, persistent, have a sense of responsibility, a high degree of curiosity, self-discipline, view problems as challenges. If there's a case study, don't feel like you can't get to the answer. Have a strong desire to learn or change, the ability to, to use basic study skills, be confident, enjoy your learning, and there's a lot of things that you can go over in this, but like I said, you need to understand, have a study plan, ability to formulate your learning objectives, consider different learning strategies, take opportunities in the discussion forum, and basically just be creative and understand this is an independent study that needs, it's relatively unstructured, but you can create that study plan that will encourage you, to work weekly or daily and just go through this module successfully. Thank you so much for, for listening to this presentation. It's just to get you started and understand what is expected in this module. All the best, and I look forward to supporting you through this module.